What up, what up, what up, what up? It's me, L Teddy 27.
Good as night, right about the hood.
Oh, dear God, I'm already eating a drink.
Look a damn mess, just a damn mess. No means no, and yes means no.
What up, what up, what up, what up, what up, what up? What's good, people? What is up? What's up? It's me, L Teddy 27, and I am back. I'm actually back for yet another review. This is going to be our review, ladies and gentlemen, for Pose. This is season 3. It is episode 4. It is entitled Take Me to Church. So, I knew once I saw that this was going to be an episode about Pray Tell's backstory. I said to myself, it's about to be a lot of dramatics and a lot of tears and a lot of just over the top stuff. Just everything is going to be hyperbolic. It's just going to be a whole lot. Prepare yourself. Brace yourself. I mean, we do this. I mean, this is Billy Porter. This is Pray Tell. Billy Porter is a Broadway girl, and the Broadway girls do things big, dramatic. Child, you already knew. Anyway, we love it though. So Pray Tell is at home. He's asleep, and he wakes up with some of the usual symptoms that people with HIV and AIDS often have, where they have night sweats, and his lymph nodes are swollen. He ends up going to the hospital. And I had a friend I had a friend who did not know at first that he had HIV, and I remember every night he would just wake up with, bed filled with sweat, like somebody had poured water in the bed. And so he went to the doctor. The doctor said that's one of the first signs, one of the first symptoms where it's something going on, probably with HIV and AIDS, because that's a common symptom. And so when I saw that, I immediately went back to my friend who had that going on. Anyway, he goes to the hospital. Doctor does biopsy, and they find out that he has AIDS-related lymphoma. He has cancer, and basically they can't do anything. They can't treat it. There's nothing they can do. You got 6 months to live. And so Pray Tell takes this moment to kind of say, you know what, I'm going to just, because he's talking to Nurse Jenny and Blanca, and they're all, like, no, we got to fight this. We got to get second and third opinion. He was like, listen, I knew my time was coming. And let me say this. I know that I always have felt that people know when it's their time, even when people seem to go abruptly and suddenly or, out of the blue. There's always something before. I believe everybody does, but definitely big people, larger than life people who live in the public eye, people who have touched a lot of people. But I feel like it's with everybody. There's always something before the end where and there's a signal where you have an opportunity to make peace, get it right, get it all together. And Pray Tell, in this case, says, listen, I need to tell everybody I love them. And Blanca and Nurse Jenny was like, we love you too. He was like, nah, I got some other people I got to go and love on and forgive and just talk it out with them. So we see him, he goes home to Pittsburgh. Now we know that the writers and even the actors in this show have, we know a huge portion of a lot of the storylines were taken from like Paris is Burning and some other films, but there's also bits and pieces from the individual lives and the actual stories of some of the characters, some of the actors, I should say, and some of the writers on the show. One of the examples is the last season, ironically enough, I think it was episode 4, when Candy passed away. One of the stories where the father talked about the dollhouse that he bought for that character, that was the story of, was it Ryan Murphy? It was either Ryan Murphy or Stephen Canals, who's two of the EPs, were the two EPs, or Brad Falchuk, one of them. That was their story when they were growing up, dealing with their sexuality with their parents, with their father, I should say, and they put that in the show. And so Pray Tell is from Pittsburgh, and the actual actor Billy Porter is also from Pittsburgh. And so a lot of Pray Tell's story from the past mirrors Billy Porter's, because Billy Porter has talked about his stepfather, his mother's husband, molesting him and violating him and stuff like that. And we'll get to that later. So anyway, I just wanted to put that little footnote in. But anyway, Pray Tell goes back home to Pittsburgh and goes to see his mom. And his mom is played by Anna Marie Horsford. And then his two aunts are Janet Hubert, that's Aunt Latrice, and Jackie Harry is Aunt Jada. And I love the fact that they had these 3 women on there. Y'all know we love these 3 women. All of them. I mean, Who else were we gonna have in this? Felicia Rashad. That's all we needed, right? That's Jennifer Lewis. I mean, just get all the old black moms out there. Give it. They should have just had like four aunts. Gave us Jennifer Lewis and Felicia Rashad in there too, and we would have been all good. Anyway, they all come over, and his mom is cooking catfish, and he's there with his mom and his two aunts, and he tells them, "Listen, I have AIDS. I'm dying. I got 6 months. 6 months." His mom can't even take it. She exits stage left and said, "Nope, can't even do it." And I understand that. That has to be a worst case scenario. If you are a mother, there's no news that you can probably hear. I mean, you would probably rather hear that you're dying as a mother than hear that your child is dying. And so I don't care how much you don't love your child anymore, but not that you don't love them, but how angry you get with them, how much you say, "I wish they weren't doing such and such." You don't want them to die, not before you. And I kind of felt for her when she said, "Nope, I can't do this. Nope." And she exits stage left, and she was like, she don't want no parts of it. Um, and so he sits there, he talks with his aunts, and they kind of open up the whole umbrella about how it all started back in church and how the church cast him aside. And it's the black church, how the black church. And let's be clear, we oftentimes push this on the black church, but you have to understand the roots of the black church and where the black church comes from. And they alluded to it briefly in this episode when they talked about when Praytel was over Ebony and Vernon's house. Ebony says, "What do you see when you look at the picture?" And they were looking at this picture of Jesus. And he was like, even in the church, black people worship a white man as their savior. And my point is that the roots of the divisiveness in the black church and some of the hate that is in the black church stems from white people, and white people forcing their religion on black people, the slaves that came over, and white people forcing certain teachings and ideologies in the church so as to keep the black people subject to them, so as to keep black people in this subjugation to white people and white America, and to think that they had to always align themselves to what Western civilization and to what Western European society deemed was correct and right. And they often misquoted the Bible, and they often did exactly what the Bible said not to do, which is to misinterpret or to take away or add to and do all of the things that you should not do to it. And so my point being that as much as you'll hear people talk about this is a casting a negative light on the black church, let's go back to the root, and then it starts with white people in white America that made the black church what it was. And so that's why we have this hatred and divisiveness and this whole atmosphere of never being quite right, or always having to be perfection when that's not attainable, and anything that's not perfect is then cast down or cast off as, "Oh, that's not good," or, "Oh, you're bad," or "There's no redemptive qualities in certain things you do or certain people," and so forth. And yeah, that's a whole conversation. I'm not going to belabor this review with that conversation, but that's a whole conversation. So the aunts open up that can of worms while the mom goes upstairs, and even Aunt Jada is like, "Well, listen," because Aunt Latrice is like, "Baby, you already know I ain't like you. I ain't like your gayness. I ain't like your homosexuality. I wasn't here for it. Love you, but don't love the sin. Love the sin, sinner, but don't love the sin." And so there's that whole conversation. She came right on out, "Girl, you already knew where I was." Aunt Jada was like, "Well, Latrice, you should have stood by me when the church, cast me aside when I, got a divorce and I lost everything I knew." It was just a whole conversation that began to be opened up. If I'm being brutally honest, this rings to me like a storyline where white people and white America will go in and be like, "Yes," because they love to look at black people when we have bad things going on, or they love to get behind the curtain and see us talk about our issues up close and personal. But for me, it's a little lazy because we've seen this over and over and over. We've heard this over and over and over. If you're going to give us this, give us another way to look at it, or give us a different context or a different way to vantage point to view it. And so it just was a little lazy for me. With white America, but for those of us who grew up in the black church, and we know and seen and lived through this, it's a little lazy. And we've seen this over and over and over in black cinema. Um, they Aunt Latrice says, "Well, I'm about to go to choir rehearsal. I'm going to church to practice some solos with some people. Why don't you come with me?" Aunt Jada going upstairs to see about Pray Tell Mom. So Pray Tell just agrees, acquiesces, and agrees to go to church. Baby, they go to this good church. Who's singing? Let Us See and goddamn Tony be Slade. Baby Shark, do. One of the greatest living female voices right now, and one of the greatest male voices living right now, singing together gospel. It don't get no better. If they did no more singing for the rest of the episode, they don't owe me nothing. Just having those two together. I'm just saying. I was ready to go on the glory right there, honey. Ready. Anyway, we find out that the pastor, whose name is Vernon, I think Jackson, is the guy who Pray Tell was in love with as a teenager, and they were, for all intents and purposes, boyfriends as teenagers and stuff like that. And they have a conversation at the church while after Pray Tell listens to the singing, and Pray Tell finds out that he's married to Pray Tell's best friend from high school named Ebony. And Pray Tell was like, she know all your tea. She know all your deal, honey. He was like, I know she knows. And she's okay with that. We're married. We got kids and everything. And he was like, why don't you come to dinner with us? And Pray Tell was like, I don't think that's a good idea. And so many times during this episode, there were things that Pray Tell knew full well. I probably shouldn't do this. This isn't a good idea. And still went and did anyway. In certain instances, I was kind of glad he did it. Certain instances, I was like, you probably shouldn't have done that, Pray Tell. And this is an instance where he probably should not have gone to this dinner. It just was not a good idea. Anyway, after that, Pray Tell goes home, and his mom is over there highlighting Bible verses or whatever. And he goes in there, and he confronts his mom about the whole thing about him being sexually abused and molested as a child. And his mom was like, it stopped. He was like, yeah, it stopped because I got old enough to push it off me. And so it was a very, one of those conversations where you saw there was strong emotion. This is Pray Tell, so it's going to be dramatic. There's going to be loud speaking and very demonstrative voice and all of this, that, and the third. However, this is a trope that we have seen over and over and over and over. And it becomes such a trope that it becomes the stereotype, and it then becomes an assumption. And it's become an assumption over the years where people who want to negate the fact that individuals are born homosexual or born gay always latch on to, and even some gay people latch onto this, and homosexual people latch onto this person was sexually abused and molested as a child. And so that plays into, or that was the catalyst or conduit by which that person ended up becoming homosexual or gay. And like I said, it's not something that you become. It's not something that you choose to do. It is something that you are. You can choose not to act on it, but it's something that you are. And so for a show like this that has done so much for the trans community and so forth, some of these storylines perpetuate just some things that I think that we're better than, and those are not the only story. I'm not saying that does not happen, but those are not the only stories. Those are not the only lenses by which we can analyze these things. And so at some point we have to begin to tell other stories, because these same tired tropes that keeps getting proliferated, will exist in perpetuity. And some people, and they're the reasons why people will never accept the fact that people are genetically born homosexual. Anyway, moving on from that, we have the flashback where you have a young Pray Tell and a young Vernon in the choir, in the youth choir, singing. And young Pray Tell is singing the house down, honey. And after choir practice, yes, it's choir practice. You don't go to choir. Well, some people say choir rehearsal. Where I come from, when I was growing up, we said choir practice. When I got older, we said choir rehearsal. Why am I discussing the difference between saying choir practice and choir rehearsal? I don't know. Call it whatever you want. They were practicing at rehearsal. Anyway, after rehearsal, they're picking up the hymnals and Bibles and stacking them in the balcony in the church. And everybody else is going except for Aunt Latrice, and Pray Tell and Vernon, who are the oldest. Looks like the oldest two in the choir. And so they're putting this stuff upstairs in the balcony. And so Vernon says he's going to walk Pray Tell home. Oh yeah, we learned that Pray Tell's real name is Prayerful. Anyway, um, um, in the balcony, they end up talking and they end up kissing. Aunt Latrice catches them. Um, so then after the flashback, we see Pray Tell at Vernon and Ebony's house having this dinner. The kids are reciting Bible verses, all of this, that, and the third cute stuff. Vernon gets a phone call. One of the parishioners, one of the members of the church, is dying, and she's about to expire, and he has to go over there and probably do last rites or whatever, um, and be with the family at that time. So Pray Tell stays and talks with Ebony. Remember, they were best friends, so it's no problem for him to stay with her. And so Ebony has this conversation with him, basically saying, "Listen, I know he gay, but we trying to make it and get it how we live. We trying to make a family for us because that's what he needs. That's what this community needs. That's what the church needs. That's what everybody needs." And Pray Tell was like, "Girl, and this girl, what are you doing? What are you talking about? You know he's gay." And she was like, there was about 5 years where he wouldn't even sleep with me. And Pray Tell looks at her like, "Girl, you know why? You know what this is about. Stop playing." Child. Anyway, she has this whole thing where she's basically asking Pray Tell to give her advice on how to get her husband, to sleep with her and love her. And she then has this just awkward and just clunky metaphor where she say the crucifix, or allegory or whatever you want to call it, where the crucifix represents Christ trying to tell us that life involves pain and torture and that life is good. It was it was clunky. It was not well delivered. It was that was not good writing there. I saw where they were going. It was not good. But she at the end is like, "Listen, I need you to help me. Please help me." And I wrote down that this was a drop storyline because here that's his old best friend, and she's reaching out, and we know Pray Tell, as we can see, even in present day, Pray Tell has a history for being great, and sometimes bad friends, but being able to be a friend and be there for female friends and stuff like that with Blanca and stuff like that. But they dropped this storyline, and I don't know if they're going to pick it up later in the season. I don't know if there's time, but this was a drop storyline because a lot could have been done with that. And I wrote down drop storyline with this whole Ebony situation and Vernon and everything. Yeah. Anyway, Vernon then comes home, as Pray Tell is leaving to go home, and he says, "Why don't we go for a walk?" So they go for this walk in the park, whatever. And so Vernon ends up confessing that he loves Pray Tell, this, that, and the third. And in my mind, I'm like, dude, you are the pastor of what looks to be a major, well, I don't know if it's major, but a large church in Pittsburgh where people know you. Wide as open as park. You out here and they kissing and all of this, that, and the third. First of all, this is the mid-90s where people were still, first of all, getting gay bashed. Two, if you are a pastor, you're not going to be in the middle of no doggone park and open. And now, I understand this is before people had smartphones, and before people had any of that, before internet was, up and thriving and stuff like that. Before all of that, but you were still not doing that in no 1994, 1995, or whatever year this is. You were not doing that. Let's be clear. Especially if you're the pastor of a church. I'm sorry. Now, y'all might sneak away and go do something, but you weren't doing it all out there in the open. Anyway, he confesses his love for Pray Tell and says he's willing to give it all up. And because Pray Tell was like, "Listen, I'm dying. I'm going back to New York. I gotta go. I got 6 months to live, and I'm dying. I don't know if you have to do for 6 months." He was like, "I don't care. I'm willing to give it up." Now, I think we all just looked and said, "Girl, nobody buys your story. Nobody believes you." But that's what he tells Pray Tell. Pray Tell goes home, and he ends up talking with his mom. And he and his mom come to some solace and forgiveness amongst each other. She apologizes for what she allowed to happen to him, and admits that she didn't do right by him, and admits her faults and everything. And they have this moment of just between the two of them, which was really good. she asked him to go to church. And there was this moment where she asked him about, does he believe in God? And he was like, not the God you believe in, but I believe in God, a God. And she asked him about what he believed in. They had that conversation. And at first I thought this was going to go south where he said, yeah, not the God you believe in. But she didn't. She just allowed him to just express what his beliefs were. She was like, well, will you go to church with me? He was like, I don't know. He acquiesces again and decides to go to church. Baby, Pertel goes to church. And you knew he had to have his moment. That mama was not going to miss his moment, honey. Pertel, Aunt Latrice asks him to come up and do a special song and whatever. Pertel goes up there. And the whole of the American collective, by the end of this song, was laid out prostrate before the Lord with snot bubbles, speaking in tongues, ready to give it up the ghost and going on to glory. It was moving. It was dramatic. It was powerful. It was Pertel. Okay. I mean, just because we all know Pertel can sing, but that coupled with the arrangement, coupled with Anna Marie Horsford and the way she played that role of the mother. I feel like I know the actress that played Ebony. You saw that whole thing between her and then her looking at Vernon and how Vernon was reacting to Pertel. It was a whole situation. I told you that, y'all, that's a drop storyline, the Vernon Ebony situation, but that's a different story. Anyway, it was a moment. It was Pertel. Over the top, dramatic, hyperbolic. It was what it was. Anyway, but that's the thing about gospel music. I don't care who you are, how hard you are. Gospel music in general, but certainly gospel music. You can get some anointing on that gospel music. I don't care how much somebody is a sinner. If somebody's anointed, they are anointed. And baby, they can open their mouth and sing, and baby, the glory of the Lord will come down, and there is nothing you can do but lay prostrate before the Lord. Anyway, so Pertel goes to have dinner with his aunt after church, Aunt Jada, and so she called it his farewell performance, which, I mean, I guess that's probably going to be his last. That might have been, I don't know, his last performance on the show. Not that he's going to die, but his last, singing performance. He has maybe about one. I think he's had one each season, or maybe two last season. But I know he's had one each season, and maybe that was his last one for this show. I've already succumbed to. I guess this was to cement he's going to die. And so there she asks him to sign over the power of attorney. Now the pessimist, and he agrees to do that. The pessimist in me thinks that this is going to go south, that some kind of way Aunt Jada, when he dies, is going to say, fuck all y'all can't do shit, y'all can't come to the funeral, y'all can't do nothing, y'all didn't get nothing, don't bother me, he signed over power of attorney to me and there's nothing you can do about it, get over it. That's the pessimist in me. Maybe that won't happen, but I just am a pessimist. I'm always thinking something bad is going to happen. He even gives a jab at Elektra, because he says he wants his body cremated. He wants little heart lockets made, little parts of the ashes put in each one of the lockets. He said, don't give one to that boss bitch Elektra. I was like, don't do Elektra like that. We love Elektra. Don't do her. Anyway, I hope she still give Elektra one. Don't do Elektra like that. Anyway, and after that, we see him at the bus stop getting ready to catch the Greyhound back. And at one point, he saw this car that he thought was Vernon's car, because he had told Vernon what time he was leaving, and had told Vernon, girl, if you come, this what time I'm leaving on Sunday. Vernon ain't come. We knew Vernon wasn't going to come. Anyway, and then we see him back in New York having dinner with Blanca, Poppy, Angel, and Elektra. Ricky's not there. Neither is Christopher. I don't know if that has something to do with COVID. I don't know if that has something to do with Ricky not being in a good place with Pertel no more. I don't know if that has something. I don't know, but those were the only people at this dinner. That was the whole episode, y'all. It is, careening down this hill to an end. I really feel like they're just pushing it all out. They're just pushing everything out, just trying to get it over with and done with. And I feel like there's something else going on that they're so quickly just trying to get it all out, and they trying to get a quick nut. They ain't trying to get no good edge session for a good hour or 2 hours and have long lasting pleasure. Maybe they just trying to get a good 2 minute nut out and let it be done. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Let's get in the comment section and about what we saw. Until next time, and that's all I got for y'all. Thank y'all for coming. Y'all drive safely.